Good morning, everyone. My name is Eleni. I'm the Marketing Manager at the Big Five in Dubai. Thank you for joining our webinar today, Access Construction Projects in MEASA and Participation of German Companies at the Big Five. The webinar will be recorded and everyone will receive a recording of the webinar in a few days' time. If you have any questions, please direct them to the relevant speaker in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screens. We will ask these questions at the end of the presentation. I will now pass you on to Mehtap Gursoy, the Event Director at the Big Five in Dubai, who will introduce our speakers. Hi, Mehtap.
Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar organized for German companies who would like to explore Middle East, Africa and South Asia region. In the next hour, we will talk about the following topics. First, Ed James, Director of Content and Analysis, MEED, will talk about the Middle East and Africa project market opportunities for German firms. Then Iris Heinz, the International Senior Consultant, German Emirati Joint Council for Industry and Commerce, will talk about German businesses in the UAE, past, present, and the future. What will be the impact of COVID-19? Lastly, I, Mehtap Gursoy, Event Director, the Big Five Dubai DMG Events, will give you more information about the Big Five. We will end the webinar with a Q&A session. As Eleni highlighted, please mention who would you like to address your question to into the Q&A box. Over to you, Ed.
Thank you, Mehtap, and good afternoon from Dubai. Good morning to you all in Germany. It's a pleasure to be once again speaking to you all about opportunities in the MEASA market. This time we actually are doing it digitally, but I'm sure and I hope it's going to be just as effective and just as informative for you. Just as Eleni and Mehtap mentioned, this is being recorded, so there is a lot of data in this webinar, in this presentation, but it's been recorded and you'll be able to look at it later in your own time. I should also like to remind you that you can add your questions in the Q&A chat box below throughout the course of the presentation, and then we will try to get round to answering them later on towards the end of this webinar. Okay, so without further ado, let's start looking at the projects market in the regions concerned. First off, who am I and what do I work for? My name is Edward James and I work for MEED Projects. MEED Projects is a projects tracking database and service. You can learn more about it by visiting meedprojects.com, and we are currently tracking more than 15,000 live projects in the Middle East and Africa, and it's by tracking these projects that we are able to quantify the data and present you with the analysis that we are going to today. So, as I said, if you want more information, please either contact me directly or visit our website to learn more. Okay, so obviously there's been a lot of changes recently, so let's take a look at where the market stands today. First of all, I think while every country is quite different, I think they all share quite a few key drivers, the most important of which are strong economic and population growth generally. Okay, so with fast-growing populations, you need a lot of social infrastructure, you need more housing, but you need more schools and healthcare projects. You also need more roads, airport capacity, and of course, you also need more power and water production capacity. And that, I think, is the key driver for project development over the last 20 years or so. At the same time, we've got a great need for infrastructure, and we've got government long-term visions, such as the famous Saudi 2030 vision, which are driving project investment and driving foreign investment in the projects markets in general in the MEASA region. So let's just take a look at the GCC, for example, and see how big the market is and which are the main markets in the region. So we can see that in 2019, we had approximately $102 billion worth of contracts awarded. And indeed, we've seen between $100 and $150 billion of contracts awarded in each of the last 15 years. So we've had more than $1 trillion worth of contracts awarded just in the GCC alone in the last 2 decades, and more than $1.5 trillion if we take into account the whole MENA region. Now, just as the GCC, pinpointing the GCC, we can see that the largest project market is Saudi Arabia currently, about $46 billion, or just under half of this $102 billion. We then have the UAE at about $30.6 billion. Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, and Bahrain are a bit smaller than the 2 largest markets, but nonetheless offer some considerable market opportunities as well. So we have just in the GCC and 6 very vibrant, very active project markets, a lot of activity going on in those markets. And just in terms of the type of projects that have been awarded over the last few years, you can see that construction last year, $37 billion of contracts, is by far and away the largest project sector in the region, followed by transport, last year $16 billion of projects, and then, as you might expect from the MENA region, oil and gas, also quite important, but also, of course, power and water as the populations are growing. So we've got very significant project activity led by the construction sector in the MENA region. So who are the top contractors currently in the GCC? Well, as you can see from this list here, this is by type, by value of work underway by each contractor. You can see that there's a mixture, a nice mixture of both local and international contractors and companies involved in the market. We've got Saudi contractors like ABV Rock Group, Nesman Partners. We've also got Indian contractors like Shapoorji. We've got the Chinese, China State Construction, Turkish companies like Limak, more Chinese like Sino Hydro, Italian contractors like Cellini. So we've got Belgian contractors like B6. So we've got a wide range of different contractors in the market, and that goes also for suppliers and subcontractors. So we have suppliers from all around the world active in the project market in the MEASA region. Simply put, there isn't enough manufacturing capacity within the region to meet all the project requirements, and therefore a lot of supplies and equipment and services are imported from around the world. There's no particular distinction from any particular region. Everything is open and has an opportunity for international companies. Just in terms of contractors, just to give you a flavor of this, you can see how broadly mixed this is. So we have Chinese contractors, which are growing in strength as they are across the world. In the MEASA region, you can see Chinese contractors have nearly $19 billion of contracts underway in the GCC. Turkey also $16.5 billion. India, then we've got Italy, we've got Korea, which has been a long time strong in the region. Greece, Spain, France, Belgium, Australia, Netherlands. So we can see that every country around the world and region has an opportunity to participate in the projects market in the MEASA region. Now, in terms of clients, we're just taking a look here at the top clients in the GCC. It's important to bear in mind that in the MENA region, particularly, the projects market is dominated by the public sector. Its government clients tend to be the dominant force in terms of tendering and sponsoring projects, as well as paying for them. And therefore, projects are closely linked to the oil price and fortunes of the government budgets. So here we've got a flavor for some of the big companies sponsoring projects, and most of them, as you can see here, are government or government-related entities, like the Saudi Public Investment Fund and their projects, which I will go more on later. We also have Dubai Holding, quasi-government entity in Dubai. We've got the Transport Authority of Saudi Arabia. We've got Saudi Aramco, of course, the Ministry of Interior in Saudi Arabia. We've got the Public Authority of Housing Welfare in Kuwait, and so on. We've got, by and large, most of the key clients in the region are government bodies in some way or the other. So that's the current situation. What's the 2020 outlook and the future holding for us? Well, clearly we've got a number of long-term future drivers. Let's putting aside to the COVID-19 situation right now, looking at the long-term situation, I think we want to focus on the national visions. Each country more or less has a national vision driving investment in projects, setting the goals for what projects they're looking for getting greater private sector participation in projects, and by introducing more PPP type projects into their project portfolio. There's also a major drive to attract foreign investment, attract greater manufacturing capability in the region, to develop new sectors like tourism and also renewable energy. So there are a number of long-term shared future drivers in each of the countries. So if you take just the GCC and looking at the value of future work coming up in the next few years, 5 to 10 years, we can see that there's an enormous pipeline of projects planned and not yet awarded in the GCC region. Again, we can see that the largest two markets are Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Saudi Arabia has more than $1.2 trillion worth of projects in the pipeline, followed by the UAE at close to $800 billion, Kuwait at more than $200 billion, and then Oman and Qatar between $150 and $200 billion. So we've got well over $2.5 trillion worth of known, planned and unawarded projects in the pipeline. So regardless of the current situation, we have in the long run a very active and full project pipeline, which make the region in general a very attractive long-term opportunity for companies wherever you are in the world. And likewise, just in terms of sectors, construction is by far and away the largest sector in the GCC region, more than $1.4 trillion. So it's historically been the largest sector. It will continue to be the largest sector, not just in the GCC, but in the MEASA region as a whole. Transport next, so airports, roads, railways, ports, close to $600 billion, and then power, water, oil, gas, petrochemicals, and industrial, making up the rest. Now, in terms of outside the GCC and looking at the continent of Africa as a whole, we also have some very significant project opportunities and project pipelines. Now, bearing in mind that the Africa projects market is not yet as developed as that in the GCC, but nonetheless, we still have many of the same drivers for projects, in fact, even more urgent drivers than we do in the GCC region. We've got a very fast growing population. We've got a huge demand for infrastructure, huge increases in power and water demand growth year on year. And this is reflected by the sheer scale of investment required. Like the GCC, many of these projects are funded by governments, but also you have a lot of development banks and development agencies financing projects, all of which have very strict procurement rules, very transparent procurement rules, and also require international expertise in order to fulfill these project demands. So you can see here we have a requirement of up to $196 billion of projects over the next year or two to fulfill the requirement in Africa. And for you get an idea of the mix of the demand for each of these projects in this graph and table here. Now, clearly, Africa is 54 countries. It's difficult to generalize, but nonetheless, there are significant opportunities regardless of which country you're looking at. And likewise, I want to also look at the India market. Again, similar drivers. We have huge population growth. We've got a huge demand growth for housing, but also for power and water and infrastructure. And that's reflected by these graphs which show construction output. So we have in 2020 close to $600 billion of output for the construction industry as a whole, and that's expected to grow to more than to about $730 billion by 2023. So quite significant growth of around 6% a year in the construction industry in India. And then on this slide, you can same data, but here you can see how it's been split into various different segments. We've got the residential segment here, energy and utilities, commercial and infrastructure. You can see how energy, residential and infrastructure dominate the requirements and the growth for the projects market in India. Okay, finally, I would just like to linger on a couple of projects just to give you an idea and a taste of some of the very significant projects coming up. A lot of these are in Saudi Arabia, funded by the Saudi Public Investment Fund as part of the Saudi 2030 vision. These are the centerpieces and linchpins of projects activity in Saudi Arabia and for the vision of the tourism, growth in tourism in the kingdom. So here we have what we call the Red Sea project. It's a massive tourism project in an untouched Red Sea coastal area of Saudi Arabia. It's worth up to $10 billion. It covers a huge area and is already underway. A lot of offshore island developments, bridges, infrastructure required, utilities and so forth. But this is going to be one of the Saudi key projects which is going to provide work and opportunities for years to come. Likewise, another key project in Saudi Arabia, a Diriyah Gate project. This is a cultural touristic development, some $9 billion worth of future projects there. You can see a list of some of the key packages and contracts already underway, a description up here of the project. We also have another key tourism project in Saudi Arabia, Al Ula, the Royal Commission for Al Ula. You can see this is like a Petra in Jordan. This is about attracting and developing a tourism industry in this very remote and untouched area of Saudi Arabia. Closer to home in Dubai, perhaps the biggest project in construction in the region is this Dubai Creek Harbour project. It will feature the world's tallest tower, more than 1 kilometre high. The whole development, which is already well underway, and it costs in excess of $20 billion. It's by EMAR, the Dubai quasi-government entity. It's going to house 500,000 people. And these projects I'm circling here, these towers I'm circling here, have already been completed. So it's well underway. We've still got dozens, if not hundreds of towers still to come. It's twice the size of downtown Dubai, which is the area covering Burj Khalifa. So Dubai has done this before and it's doing it again. It's going to offer 2 decades worth of projects. Likewise, another major project to come is the Al Maktoum International Airport. It will be the world's largest airport at a capacity of more than 120 million people a year. It's the first major package on it is expected to be awarded later this year. Clearly, there were question marks around aviation and tourism in general globally, but Dubai tends to ignore those things and look longer term. So we're not building for today, we're building for 3 to 5 years time. And these visions and these goals are not going to be set aside by these temporary issues like we're experiencing today. Work for many years to come. And then finally, just looking at this project, this is a big entertainment like Disneyland type project near Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. It's called Qiddiya. It's a fast track project costing $5 billion. It's well underway as well. And this is going to be a basic new tourism leisure park covering a massive area designed for the Saudi population. Again, it's going to offer opportunities for many years to come for companies both in the region and looking at opportunities within it. So this is just a taste of some of those exciting projects, many more, billions of dollars of great projects which are underway and will keep the pipeline busy for many years to come. So I think I might have overrun slightly my allotted time. If you please feel free to get in touch with me if you want more information. These are my contact details, and I'll be happy to answer your questions later. Just fill in the question box below, and we'll come around to answering any specific questions you might have later. Thank you very much for your attention, and now I'll pass you on to our next speaker. Thank you.
Good morning. It is nice to see that we have, what I can see, some 89 participants this morning. Welcome, and yeah, good morning to everybody. I introduce myself quickly. I'm Iris Heinz. I'm a senior consultant for the German Emirati Joint Council in Dubai. The German Emirati Joint Council is the official chamber of commerce in the region, the official arm of the German Chambers of Commerce. I just want to cover quickly today what is AHK, what are our services, even in the current crisis, what can we offer. Just 2 slides to the trade in Germany. I find it quite difficult to compare it to 2020. It's very difficult to see what's going on this year, how we are going to trade, how we are going to recover. It might be more prudent to do that later in the year to have a look, but at the moment I would like to stay away from that a little bit. And of course, what is AHK doing in the current situation, how we can help German companies, even so our services seem to be limited, they are not. And of course, what kind of information in regards to the UAE economy, to support packages and so on we can give. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. As you can see, the AHK UAE has quite a big region under their realm. We have offices in Kuwait, in Qatar. We have 2 offices in the UAE, one in Abu Dhabi, in the capital, and one in Dubai. And we do have offices in Iraq as well, in Baghdad and Erbil. If we can go to the next slide, please, that would be the services. This is part of our team. That's us. It's just a small part of our team, but we are, you can see everybody smiling, we're all positive. We are still offering our services. We have changed a lot of the services from face-to-face, from hands-on to digital to online services. We still do network events. We have changed our seminar events to webinars, as you can see today, and it's working really well. And trade fairs, we'll see how that goes. We still hope that, of course, it will continue next year, hopefully at the latest, or there might be some change into virtual trade fairs. Will be interesting. I think will be a very interesting industry to watch. What's going to be there. I think this is, yes, one of the industry we really have to watch. If you can go to the next slide, please. This is one of the promised slides for the actual trade from last year compared to 2018. As I said, 2020 I do find difficult because we only have the numbers for the first 3 months. They are really quite good, but I don't think they're indicative for the rest of the year. 2019 had a rise again in exports from Germany to the UAE. As you can see, there was a rise by 5.1%. And if you can go to the next slide, please. We are strong in transport equipment, as you can see. It's mostly aircraft and aircraft-related equipment. Road vehicles have gone down a little bit, surprisingly, but all the others have risen quite strongly. It's our traditional market. It's what we do. Germans quite well. Machinery, electrical equipment, tech. We are good technicians, really, to say. If you can go to the next slide, please. And here I would like to go what we are offering at the moment. DE International is our department where we are offering services. We have quite a few different departments. We have a trade fair department in our AHK. We have the DE services. We have a strong members department. I think the AHK has approximately 500 members at the moment from mostly German subsidiaries in the UAE, but of course a lot of local companies and other members as well. So of course, because of the strong membership, we offer a lot of networking events. We offer a lot of events in regards to information, legal, trade, finance, costumes, of course, at the moment, how to deal with a crisis, how to do communication online, how to work still as a team if you cannot go to the office, how to do it from home. I mean, we have nearly daily webinars at the moment, and it's amazing to see how interested people are and how positive people are. We haven't seen really a slowing down yet in our services to our clients from Germany. German companies are still interested to come here to do business here. We haven't seen anything yet there's no slowdown yet. And I would ask you also, if you can go to the next slide, please, to have a look at our websites. We have a full range of information on our website in regards to support packages offered by the UAE in regards to the economy, what free zones are offering at the moment, what is done, what kind of initiatives the UAE is doing at the moment to support, of course, the employees here in regards to HR. It's all there. We have a dedicated website for that. And of course, it would be great to hear from you. All our services can be done online, digital. It's amazing. And we'll see, I mean, maybe we even can start trade fairs virtually as well. Would be great, wouldn't it? To have the same setup. And I don't know, by drones, by something to see, I mean, what it's possible. I'm sure it is possible. But I mean, best case scenario is that we would be back to normal next year, and that we can have face-to-face meetings there as well again. Yeah, let's be positive, let's work together, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak today to you. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you.
I just want to apologize for the technical mishap there. We will send the recording out to everyone, so you will see it in more detail. Mehtap?
Thank you, Iris. Thanks, Eleni. Yeah, I will take you through some highlights of the Big Five in the next slides. The Big Five is the largest and the most influential building and construction show in the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. It's celebrating its 41st year in 2020. And there are 6 other specialized events at the Big Five taking place. The Big Five Heavy, Middle East Concrete, HVAC R Expo, Middle East Design and Landscape Expo. Products covering the full construction cycle from inception to completion on display from 7 main product sectors, with 2 of them are being new focus for 2020, which are digital construction world and intelligent buildings. The stats you see on my screen are the audited actuals from 2019 event. The Big Five attracts over 67,000 attendees from the world, around the world, to meet with over 2,500 exhibitors coming from 61 countries. Majority of the global leaders coming to the Big Five achieve their goals, which are mainly around promoting their brands successfully, launch new products, or finding distributors in the region. While 65% of our visitors coming from the UAE, rest mainly comes from the wider region that is Middle East, Africa, and South Asia, primarily to meet with suppliers, discover latest innovations, and of course source new international products. The Big Five attracts buyers and decision makers from various professionals in the construction industry. The Big Five offers over 240 educational sessions, from conferences to talks, and engaging networking features for the most influential players in the industry. Every year, more than 50 German companies attend to the Big Five. in the pavilion, and another 50 attends individually. For those individual participants, we offer German packages. There are 4 federal pavilions at the Big Five 2020, which are from Bavaria, Baden-Württemberg, Hessen, and Saxony. If your company is based in one of these federal states, please get in touch with the relevant pavilion organizers for further details. Besides the 4 federal pavilions at the Big Five, there's another official funded pavilion for Germany for the Big Five Heavy and the Middle East Concrete, which is the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. For more information on the Big Five Heavy and Middle East Concrete Pavilion, as well as Big Five individual participation, please contact our German representative office, MEASA and Marketing. Thank you. This ends my presentation. We will continue with the Q&A session, and we will try to answer as many questions as we can in the limited time we have. Over to you, Eleni.
Thank you, everyone. We have some questions coming in the Q&A box, and I just want to encourage everyone listening, if you do have any questions, please send them into the Q&A box, and please add the speaker's name with who you are asking. First question I have is, I think this is directed to Ed. How are countries in the region reacting to COVID-19?
Thanks, Eleni. Good question. So clearly we've got challenges with COVID-19 and the falling oil price, and obviously the questions around health and safety and security. Generally speaking, construction activity in the region has been maintained. That is, that there was an exclusion or an exception given to construction companies, and they were requested to keep projects ongoing and not stop. And I think that's a sign of just how important governments in the region view the need for projects and the importance of construction to the local economies, and the need to maintain their long-term vision for projects. So construction has been maintained, activity on sites has been maintained. What we've also seen is we have seen a slowdown in some tenders and project awards. However, we've also seen a lot of new tenders being issued. We've seen some big contracts awarded as well in the last few weeks. So we haven't seen a suspension or stop of all project activity. Things are still continuing, and I expect that to maintain or to be continued throughout the year. What I think is going to be affected maybe is, of course, government budgets, and so there will be some projects which will be slowed. That's inevitable. However, we still see just how important projects are for the region, and I think when you're looking at the political capital involved in some of these projects and the importance of them to the economy, the government's realizing that it's important to maintain spending on projects to keep the economy going. I expect that we will still see quite a lot of activity this year, albeit at a slightly lower level than previous years. But beyond that, and this is where we're really looking, but beyond that, we're looking in the future, the next 1 to 5 years. There's a very promising and optimistic outlook, and that's going to be the case for many years to come. There's some very big projects on the way, and I'm very hopeful that the industry can get over these short-term problems and then grow and prosper going forward.
Thank you, Ed. We have another one for you. How can we access these projects that you have discussed?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on whether you're a contractor, whether you're a supplier, consultant, or so forth. I mean, generally speaking, it's quite important to be registered or have a local presence or a local agent in each market in the region. Laws tend to insist on having some sort of local agent or incorporation of your company in order to win work, particularly in the public sector. So the first thing to do would be to find a local agent or distributor for your products, or to set up an office, sales office yourselves in each country in order to participate in projects. Clearly, if you have an agent or distributor, one of the best ways of meeting them or evaluating them would be at events like the Big Five. But it's also important as well to ensure that your products are validated or part of the vendor lists with consultants. So it's important to speak to the local international consultants, designers and architects who are working on projects in the region to ensure that your products are specified. And then again, they in turn will be looking to see whether you have a local presence and whether you are able to distribute and sell locally as well in accordance with the local laws. So a number of things. Find yourself a local agent and distributor, or set yourself up in the free zone or within the country directly. Build relationships with the consultants and architects. And if you're selling to the contractors or subcontractors, then build relationships with them. And of course, use market intelligence locally through your local agent or distributor, or through project tracking services, business opportunity services like MEED projects. And then finally, of course, attend these big trade shows where everyone is all in one place to understand the market in more detail. Events like the Big Five in Dubai later this year.
Just a quick remark from my side. I mean, if you have any questions to market entry, if you would like to know how to set up a company in the UAE, if you want to find a distributor or agent, or if you have any questions to how to register your products and so on, Ed mentioned already all the aspects of it. Please contact us. This is our task, this is our focus, that's what we do every day. So please do not hesitate. And I don't want to go back to what Ed already so nicely said. Everything is agreed on with that, so please do not hesitate. That's what we are here for.
We have another question. Do you have information about the actual situation in the UAE and Saudi about reopening activities with travel and visas for foreigners?
Please have a look at our website. We keep them up to date on a daily basis. I mean, we don't cover Saudi. I showed you earlier the regional outreach we have, but my colleagues and I are updating on a daily basis all those information. And have a look at our website. It's there, all the information we have, all information which is officially available, which is substantiated. Yeah, please have a look. Or contact us, then we can send you the link, whatever you need to add. Do you have anything to add there?
Well, I think at the end of the day, the region is built on in and coming out, and 90% of the population in the UAE, for example, is not are not Emiratis, and the authorities here are desperate to open up the aviation sector and travel industry again. Of course, they're not going to do it until it's ready, but it's a clear priority to allow Emirates or Etihad or Dubai International Airport to open again. So I'm optimistic that over the next 2 or 3 months we will see a gradual reopening of the borders and for travel to once again be made. I would also like to have a summer holiday somewhere, so I would be very keen for that to happen. But at the end of the day, you've got safety is the first concern, and once it's the all clear is given, then I expect that to ramp up. And it's actually not fully closed anyway. You can actually, there are flights coming in and out of Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Saudi in any case. So there are some limited opportunities to travel into and out of the region, but of course only on an urgent requirement basis. But fingers crossed, we can expect things to improve very soon.
We have a question from Mehtap, I think. Will the Big Five take place this year?
See, when this whole thing started about like 5-6 months ago, it was only a problem in China. So Big Five is about 7 months away now. So we have all the confidence that we will successfully run the event as planned. However, we will continue to closely monitor the developments and follow any guidelines issued by local or national authorities. And World Health Organization that may be relevant to ensure the safety and guidelines for the well-being of our exhibitors and visitors and all our partners.
Thanks, Mehtap. We have another one. Is there any archive to see which German corporates are currently active in this region?
No, we do have, I mean, the AHK, of course, we know who are active in the region or not. We do have an extensive membership list, of course, which is available on our website as well. But if you have a question in regards to one or the other of the activities Germany or German companies have here at the moment, please contact us. I mean, we can certainly have a look into it. I mean, yeah, which corporate would you be talking about? Is there?
I'll wait for them to send that response.
Yeah.
Paris. We'll move on to the next question. How can we as get participation with your assistance? Are you interested in inviting more German exhibitors and visitors to attend?
Was that for me, perhaps?
Yeah, it could be Mehtap.
We do have 4 pavilions, as I presented on one of the last slides that I had, confirmed from Germany. So we have a full marketing campaign going on all the countries. At the moment, there's a lot of interest in the region. As Ed presented, a lot of the projects are going ahead. So yes.
Okay, another one. I think this is for Ed. What is the impact of the delayed projects in the construction region?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, clearly there are going to be some projects delayed and cancelled. I mean, that's inevitable, and we can't pretend that that's not going to be the case. You know, we are in a difficult situation, and you know, the world is a very different place now than it was 4 months ago. But when we look at the projects in the region, they are instrumental in the long-term economic outlook and health of the region. These projects are required. They're integrated with the government 10-year plans or the government visions, and they are essential to opening up new sectors like renewables, like tourism, manufacturing. They are essential for growing the economies and for attracting foreign investment. So we are talking about projects which the government really have to go ahead with. They have to proceed with these projects because the economy needs them, and the nations of each in the region need them. So I think, yes, we are going to see some short-term pain. That's inevitable, and we are seeing that. But in the long run, and I think we should always think about long-term, because relationships we make today or the next 6 months are going to be turning into results in the next year, 18 months or so. And the projects which we're talking about today are going to be finished in 3 to 5 years' time. So we are talking about investments made today for the future, not for the now. And I think when you take that into account, we can be broadly optimistic about the long-term outlook for projects in the region. And hey, look, we've got more than $3 trillion worth of projects in the pipeline. Let's say 50% of them don't proceed. We've still got $1.5 trillion of known projects in the pipeline. And we've had more than $1.5 trillion awarded in the last 10, 15 years. So it's very realistic to expect that we can see a similar amount going forward. And so I think it's an excellent time, an excellent opportunity to take advantage of this pipeline and look at opportunities in the region and Africa and India as well. I think there's huge growth, huge population growth. It's not, these things aren't going to change in the long run. And I think there's a real need for equipment, supplies, construction expertise, and I think it offers a real growth area and excellent opportunity overall.
Thanks, Ed. We've got one for Iris now. How do you perceive the issue of conducting trade shows and exhibitions this year in the region? Does the AHK have any digital processes in place to allow your companies to meet with potential distributors virtually?
Yes, like, I mean, trade fairs at the moment, of course, I can't say anything. This is up to the trade fair organizers, to the companies there, and I'm sure they're working on this already as well. But of course, our services can be done virtually, they can be done online. That's what we are offering now as well. If you're interested in finding a partner, it's business as usual. You just don't meet face to face. We will do the same thing as we are doing right now. You see me in, face to face. So it's no issue at all. I think times will be changing. I think we will look at a different scope, at different things next year. I think people will realize those things are possible too. I might not have to fly all the time. I don't have to spend so many hours on the road or on the plane. I can do it like this too. So I think, yeah, those tools we are using at the moment, they're definitely a growth industry.
Yeah, I would like to add to that as well. Although our marketing campaign is very much focused on bringing quality visitors, in the case of some of the countries will have restrictions to travel, we are of course exploring alternative ways for those visitors to engage with and those exhibitors to engage through digital opportunities.
Thanks, Mehtap. Iris. Iris, is another one here for you. Can companies from NRW also participate in the Big Five with support of BMWI? In your sheet, NRW was not explicitly listed.
If you don't mind, if you can send me this question to my email, because I'm not really with the department for the trade fairs, I will forward this question. I'm sure there is a way how our Germany from NRW can participate. I will have a look into it. I will speak to my colleagues and come back to you with the information. If you can send me this to my email address. I don't know, my email address was shown in the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, one for Ed. Do you think that the COVID situation will be challenging for contractors in Saudi Arabia, considering that in the past, even big names struggled in the country?
Yeah, I mean, Saudi Arabia can be a difficult country to work in. Some of the red tape and bureaucracy can be challenging. We've got language, legal issue, change. Things are different than elsewhere, of course. Climate and so forth. But yeah, I mean, it's very possible for companies to prosper in Saudi Arabia, and we've seen that many times. Many successful international contractors and suppliers and consultants working in Saudi Arabia, and a big track record there. We have seen some companies like Saudi Bin Laden Group, like Saudi Oja, go bankrupt in the last few years, but that's got nothing really to do with the current situation. It's more to do with some legal issues or political issues in the kingdom that they had. For international companies, the Saudi Arabia authorities, and indeed in the region in general, are really, really trying to attract foreign investment, and they're trying to make it as easy as possible for international companies to come in now. For the last year alone, we've seen it possible to get a visa on arrival in Saudi Arabia. I mean, this was something that no one would ever believe just 5 years ago. Women can drive cars there now. You don't need to wear a hijab wherever you go. It's opening up, and they are really trying to attract foreign investment and foreign companies, international companies, to come in, and they're willing to help you set up. There are local agencies involved and government authorities aimed at helping companies come in. Sure, there are challenges of doing business anywhere, and the region is no exception. But I don't think you can say there are any specific challenges particularly that should concern you around doing business in Saudi or any other country in the region.
Mehtap, we've got one for you. Can you explain the virtual alternative you are planning for visitors that can't enter the country? Will it be video conferences between physically present exhibitors and virtually present visitors, virtual matchmaking platforms, virtual product presentations? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. It's still on the early stages. We are looking the best alternatives on how that can be translated into virtual environment. But at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, the plan is to run the show face-to-face. If this changes, we will communicate with all our stakeholders on how this is going to work virtually or another way. I hope that answered your question.
Okay, we've got another one. It's not directed to anyone, but do you guess that the crisis will affect construction businesses in terms of average time for conversion of work done to receivables and the average collection time of receivables once certified?
I'll take that one. So we have seen payments stretch in the last couple of years for various different reasons, and it's true that payments can take a while in the region. We have seen payments stretch to up to 6 months and even longer in some exceptional circumstances. And of course, the current situation is going to have an impact on cash flow as well for many companies. What I would say is, know your customer well, build a relationship with them so you know their financial health, you know their reliability in terms of payments. And at the same time, I think it's also recognized that the governments understand the problem, and the governments, of course, most of the key clients in the region are government related. And so there have been a lot of initiatives by the governments, places like UAE, Saudi Arabia, to release payments to contractors so that they can pay their suppliers and subcontractors. So we have got difficulties with payments, but we've also seen a release of a lot of funds to help in the region to help to pay late payments, to help stimulate these contractors so that they can pay down the supply chain. So things are improving, but of course, it does depend from company to company what the current situation is.
Okay, I think that's all the time we have for the questions. Thank you very much to our speakers. Valuable information, and thank you all to our attendees for coming online today. We have recorded the session, so we will be sending the recording and the presentation in a couple of days, so just keep an eye on your inbox, and thank you again. We look forward to seeing you at the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.